And we're live. So here we go. Our guest on this episode of Galactic Radio is a writer and a blogger. He's the author of Children of the Different, a post-apocalyptic fantasy novel set among the varied landscapes and wildlife of Western Australia. Welcome to Galactic Radio, S.C. Flynn. S.C., hello.
Hello, Dave. Very nice to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, and I look forward to hearing more about your book. To start things off, tell us a little bit about your novel, Children of the Different.
Yeah, very gladly, like all writers, of course. Apart from the few words you said in your intro, Dave, this is a young adult novel. So Children of the Different is set in a period 19 years after a brain disease called the Great Madness killed most of the world's population. The only survivors had something different about their brains. So it's a bit of a neurodiverse survival population. And 19 years later, their children, as a secondary effect, go into a coma at the beginning of adolescence. That's called the changeland. And there they go into a sort of a dream state where they have various adventures which have a direct effect on them in the outside world. And if they come out safely, they have extra powers developed, but they can also come out damaged. And then they're turned into ferals, as they're called, who are dangerous creatures that have been affected in some way.
What was your inspiration to write this book?
I don't want to sound too intellectual, but actually it was reading Carl Jung and his psychology. It goes back some years now, and that inspired me. The setting in Western Australia is from where I'm from, and originally, although I've lived in Europe for many years now. And the setting offered a wide range of climates, from forests, where the two main characters, who are adolescent twins, grew up in an isolated settlement, to deserts, the ocean, and many, many strange creatures that could be treated in a fantasy sort of setting. So someone asked me, how would you define it as in one of those A meets B? And I said, I'd probably say it's the Chrysalids by John Wyndham meets Mad Max. That's a bit strange, but yeah, it is strange and different, like the title itself says, Children of the Different.
Have you always been a writer? Have you always written things?
Yes, well, at least made up things. One of my earliest memories, and there's fortunately a photo that supports it, is me at 4 years old singing in a wheat bin, which is like a 44-gallon drum that was filled with wheat to feed the chickens. And I used to sit in there and invent stories. So I'd be left alone, and I'd always observe creatures, including insects, and invent stories about them. So yeah, always, yeah. And actually wanting to be a writer in, you might say, that the professional sense of writing down and getting published is something I've been very serious about for a long time, having tried the traditional publishing route with agents and so forth. I've decided to go down this self-publishing route with Children of the Different.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier these days to go down that route, right?
It is, but to do it well is very difficult. I set myself after having had two professional agents for many years and written other novels that I believe are of publishable quality, but not breaking through. I decided that I would try self-publishing, but I would only do it if I could produce something that is as good in production quality as the big publishers. So that means a lot of expense and a lot of effort. Apart from writing and revising the book, I've been working on this production now since January with the copy editor, artist, audio narrator, formatter, a whole professional team that I've hired and worked with. So it's easy to get something out there, but to do it well is very, very difficult. And then, of course, we have to see what happens with the sales.
Stuart, can I interrupt real quick? I think you're breaking up, and I think maybe you need to turn your Wi-Fi back on.
Sorry. Okay, I'll.
I apologize.
That's all right. I'll try and fix that right away. Yeah, we might need a bit of support from what the Wi-Fi can give us as well. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
I think I'm back on Wi-Fi. I hope that helps.
Okay. Can you go back a couple minutes with what you were saying? Because you were breaking up, and I don't know where we left off. I don't know where it started happening. So maybe just think back a couple minutes what you were talking about.
Fine. I'll go back to your question, Dave, was about the self-publishing route. And it's much easier these days with the technology to get a book out there. And my background is I've come to self-publishing from many years following the traditional route of publishing with two separate literary agents who weren't able to get me published. So I decided to, with this new novel, a new thing for me. I'd never written about Australia before. I'd never written young adult before. My previous novels that I worked on with the agents were historical fantasy or quasi-historical fantasy. I decided to, if I was going to do self-publishing, that I would only do it if I could produce a book in all the formats that was as good in production quality as that of the big publishers, so ebook, print, and audiobook. So since January, I've been working with an all-pro team of narrator, copy editor, artist, and formatter to produce Children of the Different. That's come out this month. That's not counting the years of writing and revision that went before then. So it's been a long process. So yes, it is easy to get a book out there now in self-publishing due to technology, but to do it well is very difficult. But it's been a great process that I've obviously learned a lot by doing that. And you asked me also earlier whether I'd always wanted to be a writer, and I was saying that my earliest memory about approximately would be when I was 4 years old, sitting in a wheat bin, which is a big drum filled with wheat. That's a very Australian image, isn't it? Inventing stories, and I'd observe animals and insects, which is very easy to do where I come from because they're all around you. And I'd invent stories about them, that there were cities and empires and so forth. So yeah, it's been a long path of making up stories and wanting to be a storyteller that's led me to where, as far as I've got now.
You also have a website. What can people find on that website?
Yeah, the website, www.scflynn.com, scflynn.com, at the moment has all the latest things about the novel. So the Children of the Different blog tour is starting right this moment, talking to you, Dave, which I'm very pleased about. That'll be 3 weeks of interviews, chat on podcasts, and guest posts on various sites and blogs. You can also find there the latest reviews. I'm posting updates of them as they're coming in on various sites. And apart from that, on my blogging side, as you well remember, I had a long series of more than 100 interviews with bloggers, podcasters, and other genre people, including you, Dave.
Yes.
I forget what number you were, but you were in there somewhere. And I think I ended up with 102 of them. So a lot of people have told me they find that a great resource to get an insight from the other side of the internet or the other side of the voice in the podcast, people's views as from the point of view of podcasters or bloggers or editors and so forth. So there's that on my site. I also like to think that the site is a useful source for finding sites and blogs. So I like to do posts where I put links that I think are useful and recommend other sites.
Okay, so say you found a portal that only went to sci-fi and fantasy worlds of books, movies, TV shows, video games. If you could use it only once, where would you go and why?
I think I'd go to the world of Dan Simmons' novel Hyperion. I love the idea of having rooms in a house that are themselves portals, and they can, when you step from one room to another, you're changing your local environment, but you're actually moving to another planet. And I guess in that world, I guess I'm cheating a bit as well. I would have access to all kinds of portals and to keep the game going, I suppose.
That's a great answer. I never thought of answering it like that.
And a great novel, a real favourite of me, as it is of mine, as it is of many people, of course. Dan Simmons' Hyperion.
I know this is not one of my questions I have prepared, but what's another favorite novel of yours?
Probably Ursula Le Guin's Wizard of Earthsea. It's a novel I love, and it was a big influence on my style, as it is in my current novel, written for young adults. That people are commenting a lot that it's deliberately simple and clear, but there's actually a lot going on and a lot of ideas there. And I found that with Le Guin in Wizard of Earthsea, it's an easy story to read on one level, but there's a lot to it. And she creates a fully realized world in small number of pages and makes it look easy.
I was told that you're a big Philip K. Dick fan. Is there a book or story of his that has yet to be adapted to, into a movie that you'd like to see done?
Dave, I'm going to do a little bit of a trick with this answer. One that I'd like to see would be another version of Blade Runner. I know there's the sequel coming up. And I love, like many people, I don't know, probably like you, the original Blade Runner film with a very cyberpunk sort of ethos to it. But one thing I would like to see that will probably never happen because of Blade Runner, because it was so successful and such a cult film, would be to go back to the original book, do Android's Dream, and do another movie, because there's so much in the original story that they did not use in the Blade Runner film. And they introduced a lot of great stuff that is not in the original book. So you could do a completely different story that would take in different directions, starting from the original book, and be another potentially great film.
Is there a recent science or technology breakthrough that you would like to see explored in fiction?
Yeah, I'd be intrigued, because I personally don't understand it, and I hope that a film or story would help me to, would be the quantum computer. I find the idea of this advance really fascinating, but I've been unable to get my head around it, how exactly it would work. And given the, as we all know, the incredible importance of computing and microchips and so forth in recent years, it's gone well beyond what even science fiction predicted if you go back a few decades. Yeah, I'd be intrigued to see what a story could be done about something that takes that level we reach now to a whole new level of the quantum computer.
And we're kind of running out of science fiction ideas for science fiction, because a lot of the original ideas are becoming reality.
Yes, well, yeah, that is true. I suppose it's part of the genre, I guess. I mean, I'd like to think there'll be writers in hard science fiction. I'm sure there are, and there will be new ones who'll be able to do new things that I can't even think of at the moment. But let's hope so.
You said that you're a fan of classic Doctor Who. So which incarnation of the Time Lord is your favorite, and what alien species did you also like from that same period?
Yeah, although it's before my time, having rewatched a lot of the classics again, I've come to like the Third Doctor era, very slightly ahead of the Second Doctor. That's a problem, who, as you know, is affected by a lot of stories being missing. Although there's exciting news that animation might start filling in some gaps, I certainly hope so. But yeah, the Third Doctor, a lot of people find the repetitiveness of that well with the doctors on the Earth, with UNIT and everything as a negative thing. I personally come to really like it. I like the idea of the UNIT family and the interplay between the characters, particularly the Brigadier and the Doctor. And the third Doctor himself is a very good character actor, as was the second Doctor, of course. And from that period of probably the new creatures, I mean, I love the Ice Warriors, but obviously they were introduced in the second Doctor's era. I'd probably go with the spiders of Metabilis 3, because I like psychic things a lot. And so psychic spiders that sort of gate crash a meditation session, when I first saw that, was really, really creepy. And yeah, they're just great villains, including the great one, the gigantic, super powerful psychic spider. So yeah, I'd go for a third Doctor and the giant spiders in his last adventure.
Anything else that you want to talk about that we didn't cover in this interview?
I'd just do a wrap to say that as I mentioned before, this is the first stop on the 3-week blog tour of Children of the Different, and as I mentioned before, my site scflynn.com gives where I'm going to be and what I'll be doing. I've got the ebook and audiobook out there. Audiobook with an Australian narrator, fittingly, is getting very good reviews, and the print book will be coming out soon. So yeah, this has been great for me to have a chance to kick off the blog tour talking to you, Dave, and sort of between us return the mutual favours of the interview I did with you from my side a long time ago. It's been great.
Again,
so, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. And again, what's the website address?
It's www.scflynn.com.
All right, perfect. And that is it.